ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. Hare Krishna. My topic is ideal family life, Grihastha Ashram, with example of Kardama Muni's and Devahuti's family life. Before we actually discuss on this, let us ponder on the word called Bhavan. Now, Bhavan, if we literally translate Bhavan into English, this is it is a house. So the Bha stands for Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if there is a place where there is no place for Bhagwan, the Bha, then that place simply is considered a forest, right? So Bhavan is basically Supreme Personality of Godhead, and if there is no place for Bhagwan in that particular house, then it is a forest where absolutely it's, even if there are sophisticated animals staying. This is the philosophical background of a Grihastha ashram, a place where Bhagwan is being given importance, or is a center of center of our house. So this actually gives us an understanding as to gives us a point to understand that there are two types of householders. One is a Grihastha and another is a Grihamedhi. Now, if we talk about the word ashram, Grihastha ashram, ashram is something which is holy, and is where we are actually cultivating some place for cultivation, and there are certain goals to achieve. So ideal Grihastha ashram is where we are keeping Krishna in the center, and we have a determination, and only focus is enjoyment to Krishna. Whereas a Grihamedhi is self-centered and he is absorbed in material objects and consciousness. His interest is only in sense gratification. They are also sometimes called as Griha Vratas, whereas they have taken a vow or a determination to enjoy this world. So when we consider this kind of types of householder, Grihasthas and Grihamedhi, it's important to understand why Grihasthas are important in the society now than ever before. So there are some significant points that I'm just sharing with you. First of all, to have an ideal Grihastha, it actually is very important for the entire family to come together, and they advance further in their spiritual life. The aim of the human life to advance in their Krishna consciousness, the practice of Krishna consciousness. That's one significant point of having an ideal Grihastha. Then second point is role model, where if we have ideal Grihasthas, they can set a very good example for the world to see as to how a Krishna conscious, ideal Krishna conscious family stays. And so with proper behavior, with proper etiquettes, they will be inspiring others to take up Krishna consciousness. Also, now in our society we see a lot of householders. We have majorly householders than any other ashrama. Majority of them are householders. So seeing these Grihasthas, they can actually relate to these Krishna conscious Grihastha and take inspiration, and they become more effective in preaching the Krishna consciousness philosophy, and to emulate them in their life. Also, we can understand and consider this point as just being the existence of the Grihasthas only can make the society very it can bring a lot of spiritual vibrations by having these Grihasthas. So a third important point is they can actually support the organization. Now Grihastha plays a very important role because they are the one who actually brings economic development. So they can help this organization first by financial support, maintaining these organizations, maintaining the temple and other projects. Second is they can help in providing services voluntarily, which can actually bring this organization to a scalable growth. Like we have got bhakti vrikshas, we have got book distribution, we have got temple services and preaching, of course. So of course, if you see the recent past in ISKCON, when the movement was just building up, we have got grihasthas couples only who used to go all over the world and start up their own center in ISKCON. So sannyasis and the brahmacharis came much later. Initially that was the case. We can see in ISKCON. Also, the last point, important point is they can actually help in upholding our varnashram system, which the Lord has created for the gradual development of spiritual life. So if you see, grihasthas are the one who can actually apply these principles, putting them into practices, right? In putting all the principles that we have got, they have to put that in practice. So if we have knowledge, we have culture, we have values, so if that has to be preserved in our society for the future also, that preservation happens only through the propagation, and grihasthas can play a very important role in propagating these particular principles, these values, culture, and the knowledge that we are talking about in the society. So of course, Kardama Muni and Devahuti, we can see that they have shown all these things, in these principles they have applied, that we will see in the later on discussion. Of course, we can see that in Shastras also, in Bhagavatam, there's a lot of mention of very good grihasthas who are ideal in preserving these principles. Like we have got Yudhishthir Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj, Prithu Maharaj. Even in Chaitanya Leela, we see majorly a lot of grihasthas than sannyasis and a few renunciates. So like we have got Shivanand Sen, Mukunda Dutt, we have got Advaita Acharyas, and in our recent past we have got our Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who had 13 children, and he says, Ye dine grihe jan bhajana dekhi grihate goloka bhai. One day while performing devotional practices, I saw my house transformed into Golok Vrindavan. So we will see what are those principles which are very important to actually have that principles applied in our own life, so that we can perfect our life, our grihastha life further. So before I go ahead into these principles, let me discuss something about the Canto 3, which talks about, these are the four chapters which are in detailed mention about the life of Kardama Muni and Devahuti and their married life. So chapter 20 talks about the conversation between Maitreya and Vidura. Chapter 21 talks about conversation between Manu and Kardama, where a lot of Swayambhu Manu's lineages are mentioned, and also how Kardama Muni was instructed by Lord Brahma. He worshipped Lord for 10,000 years for pleasing the Lord, and how Lord gave him the darshan, and Lord provided for a suitable wife Devahuti to Kardama Muni. And then there is 22, which talks about marriage of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, how Swayambhu Manu approached Kardama Muni for the hand of Devahutis to Kardama. 23 talks about Devahuti's lamentation, where the detailed discussion about the household affairs of Kardama Muni is described. And so we'll take up the principles one by one. The first principle is Guru Agya, Guru Padashray. So if you see, irrespective of our varnas or ashram, we have to actually serve under the shelter of the Guru. So if you see in Kardama Muni's life, Lord Brahma gave instruction to Kardama Muni to procreate, so that he can populate the entire universe with living entities as Prajapati. So that was his project. Lord Brahma also, that was one. Now, following his instructions, Kardama Muni worshipped the Lord for 10,000 years. He did his austerities to please the Lord. and Lord similarly gave him the darshan and accepted his worship, and he himself arranged for a suitable wife like Devahuti. So there could be a question which could be raised as to why did Kardamu Muni asked for material thing which apparently look material, like asking for a suitable wife. So the reason is basically Lord, while Lord himself instructed Lord Brahma to create like Sarga and Visarga, and in turn Lord Brahma instructed all the Prajapatis like Kardamu Muni to procreate or to have their own progeny or populate the universe with living entities. So following the Guru's instructions, he actually had this desire to have a suitable wife. So in turn, this is actually a desire of Lord only. So this particular desire that he had for a suitable wife is a bona fide, and it is perfectly in Krishna consciousness. So that's one point that before entering before entering Grihastha ashram, we should take permission from the senior Vaishnavas, from our own Guru, and similarly we see in Devahuti's case also, like Swayambhu Manu and the Satyarupa both gave her the blessings and the permission to go into this Grihastha ashram, and they only arranged this particular marriage. So it's not that since we are into Grihastha ashram, so we have unrestricted sense gratification and we reject the instructions of spiritual master. So of course, so the key point here is that we have to live our life in accordance with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. So that's the one very important principle that Kardamu Muni has showed. Second important principle is sex life or married life for begetting children. Now, if you see, Kardamu Muni accepted Devahuti as wife only on one condition, that he will soon renounce his Grihastha ashrams after he begets children. So if you see, he was planning for a retirement just before entering the Grihastha ashram. So he planned for renounce order so that he can dedicate his life to further in devotional service for his devotional realization, and as he considered Lord as supreme authority, so that was his first condition to get into the Grihastha ashram. Also another point is, as a Grihasthas, it is very natural for us to have attachment with our offspring, our own children. So when we offer that particular attachment in the service of the Lord, that is the best service we can do as a Grihasthas. Like if we train our children and help them to further advance in their Krishna consciousness and help them to serve the lotus feet of the Lord, that is the best service we can do as Grihasthas, and that's the expectations from the Lord also from us. So also Prabhupada says that child worship is more important than deity worship in one instance. Also he said that any children born in our Krishna consciousness movement is not ordinary children, they are Vaikuntha children. So that's second important key principle. We'll go to the next. Now having said that, Kardamu Muni soon had to renounce his Grihastha ashram after begetting children. So after having his 9 daughters, he soon gave them to the 9 different sages, and after having Kardamu Muni having Kapila Dev as his son, he gave Devahuti under the protection of Kapila Dev. So here we can see that woman is another's property. Like she has to be under the care and protection of a father before marriage, under the care of husband after marriage, and a son after the demise of the father or after he renounces. So that's a very important aspect to understand, because in this society we see a lot of exploitations which are happening with the women. I wouldn't say that it's the mistake of a woman, but it's surely a mistake of a man or a family who is not giving a proper training to a man to actually take care of own responsibility of taking care of a woman. So that's the reason we see a lot of exploitation. So I think the responsibility of man has to be taught first. I would say that way, that you should give protection to a woman. That's the third important point. Fourth important principle is upholding and establishing Varnashram system. I would say developing Devi Varnashram system right now. Kardama Muni soon retired from his active householder life, after having building up a castle in the air, or traveling all over the universes for 100 years with wife and beautiful girls, and after begetting. So his main concern was Krishna consciousness. He was not the one who was just entrapped in the material household duties. We see now that as the age advances, people become more intoxicated materially, but it should be vice versa. Like as the age advances, one should develop more detachment. But as a Kali Yuga is progress, we see people are just behind comforts of their body and their facilities. But Kardama Muni has shown a very good an example for us to follow. That we should from our active householder life, we should soon retire or plan to retire. Now, one important point one could question as to why Kardama Muni retire even after having, despite having Lord as his son. So there are two reasons for this. First is Kardama Muni was living in accordance with Sadhu, Guru and Shastra. So he wanted to set a right example as per Vedic scriptures. Second is he was in the mood of Dasya Bhav. So having stayed at home, he would have to portray a role of Vatsalya Bhav, which was not his natural rasa. So that rasa could have mixed. So that's the reason why he did like that. So of course, so this is a teaching. Another point I would just briefly discuss is what's the difference between the Varnashram and Daivi Varnashram. This is my understanding. So if you see, Varnashram is a very traditional system that Lord had created, but as the time progressed, the Varnashram system collapsed. So earlier the divisions were made as per the qualification, but as the Kali Yuga progressed, the divisions was made as per the birth. So birth is not the only qualification. Also in the traditional Varnashram system, we have got mix of everything. We have got Karmakand is emphasized, but here the Acharyas brought the concept Devi Varnashram again, so that there is singular emphasis on Krishna consciousness and goal as love of Godhead. So what we as Grihasthas can do is we can accept some principles. We have to accept all the principles basically of Vedic dharma or Vedic Varnashram dharma. So this dharma, this Vedic Varnashram dharma should lead us to follow the Vaishnava dharma. And our Bhakti Vinod Thakur has mentioned these three principles. He is called as three pillars of Vaishnava dharma, which is Nameruchi, Jivedaya and Vaishnav Seva. Nameruchi is where we are trying to cultivate the taste for the holy names, taste for hearing the glories of and pastimes of our Lord. And Jivedaya is we are trying to preach the other conditioned souls by means of preaching or book distribution, kirtan, distributing prasadam, etc. And also Vaishnava Seva. Now Vaishnava Seva is considered a shortcut to go back to Godhead. And Devahuti has is exemplary in Vaishnava Seva. towards his guru, his husband Kardama Muni. So we'll just briefly discuss as to how Devahuti actually was exemplary and showed a character. What was her character in serving a Vaishnava like Kardama Muni. Chapter 23, text 1 to text 3 is very important because that's the mood and attitude of that should be the mood and attitude of a disciple towards the service of spiritual master. So I'll just read this text 1. Maitreya continued. After the departure of her parents, chaste woman Devahuti, who could understand the desires of her husband, served him constantly with great love as Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, serves her husband. So if you see, Devahuti understood the desire and mood and disposition of her husband Kardama Muni, and she served him accordingly. Similarly, we as a disciple has to understand the mood and the mission and care and serve Guru with all love, care and humility. Now if you see, also another point is Devahuti had no pride. Now Devahuti came from a family of King Swayambhu Manu, and she came from palace, and whereas Kardama Muni was staying in a simple hermitage. Despite that, she had no pride and she served Kardama Muni, just like Bhavani. Bhavani here is Sati, wife of daughter of Daksha, who was married to Lord Shiva. So that's how they are comparing Devahuti and Bhavani. Second important point, text 2 talks about, O Vidura, Devahuti served her husband with intimacy and great respect, with control of senses, with love and with sweet words. So Devahuti served Kardama Muni with cleanliness, both external and internal. Internal by control of senses, and it also says that with intimacy and respect. So intimacy doesn't mean that there was disrespect, or a great respect does not mean that there was a fear, or the person was not unapproachable. So that's the important point. Also, she was sweet with her words, she was soft spoken. So being soft spoken or using sweet words is very important for any survival of any relationship. Also it says that she pleased her husband always, giving up all the anarthas. One important point here is since Kardama Muni was very pleased with Devahuti, Kardama Muni bestowed her all the mercy that he got from the Lord. So similarly, if a disciple also serves the Lord, he also become entitled to receive the mercy of the Lord, just like his Guru has received from the Lord. Also another very important point, text 55 chapter 23 talks about association of devotees. So as a grihasthas, association of devotees is very important. It talks about it can lead to liberation, it's a cause of liberation. And very important text is 56, which says that if the karma does not lead to dharma, or a dharma does not lead to vairagya, or a vairagya does not lead to attachment to the Lord and devotees, then that person is dead, is considered dead even if he is breathing. So that's the importance of association of devotees. Bhagavad Gita talks about some important points that should never be given up, like Dana, Tapa and Yagna. So that's the major 3 principles that every grihastha has to keep that in mind. So Krishna consciousness is not dependent on any ashram. So if you follow all these principles very rigidly and sincerely, we can perfect our life in this particular lifetime only. Of course, this is a very key important point, that keeping in all the activities, or considering doing any activity, we have to keep Krishna in the center, and the only criteria that should drive us in any decisions in our life is, will this activity please Krishna? Thank you. Mostly we see when such cases occur, we actually tend to devalue or demoralize women that they are like that. But I would say, whatever the case is, whatever the woman is doing, men should not go back in his obligation or his duty to protect the woman, because men should be trained to understand that you have been given a woman and you have to protect her, whatever the case be. So if that training is being given from the initial days only, the men will not think of leaving the woman, or there will be no case of divorce only, whatever woman is doing. And women, if men are trained accordingly, if they are strong enough, I think woman having a submissive nature, she will also calm down. That's my experience, or that's my opinion. It could not be true. So I think the mindset of a man is more important rather than women. In being submissive and being chaste, that's the major important thing. Because we see a lot of divorces happening, I think fine, that's the decision of a female or something happened. But if male has been trained from the initial days and that mindset has been there, then I don't think so. It will, it will break the relation very easily. Like I see a lot of men are, they are very dominating, or they, and the women are not able to stay, or whatever it is. But if the training had been given to men, then he wouldn't have done like that. He would consider that this is my responsibility, and God has given this responsibility to me, so I have to be responsible. Yeah.